So we're going to see what we got here. So we're going to see what we got here. ladies and gentlemen. My name is Catfish Sushi. I'm going to be cooking some chicken fried rice that I make for myself. My recipe is relatively simple, albeit it's not a traditional kind of recipe. Um, I've pre-cooked a lot of the stuff that goes with this. I was waiting for a friend of mine to get done, so I've got a lot of this pre-cooked. I've got the rice is already done. I've got an organic blend of wild rice that's black, um, organic jasmine, and organic basmati. All three of those. They take a long time to cook. An extra, what is it, like 8 minutes longer than what your cooking time would be for, say, traditional long grain white rice. So this takes a while to cook. I also put whole peppercorns into, I have a container of the whole peppercorns and I put some of those in there along with the rice and some dried cayenne peppers. The dried cayenne peppers, it kind of mutes the heat a little bit, so when you do that, because you're cooking and you're releasing the heat into the rice before you actually cook the dish. So it adds a bit of flavor without making it so extremely hot that it'll burn your face off, kind of thing. If you like stuff that's that hot, you can add the peppers to the oil when you go to start cooking it. In this case, I'm going to be using very specifically pure peanut oil because blended peanut oils will catch fire. So that's not what I want, so I'm going with pure peanut oil. And I've got one of my other cameras already set up. I'm going to go ahead and put down my wok ring, which I recommend. You can get these on Amazon.com. They're like $5-6. They're real cheap, but they do a great job. And go ahead and put the wok down here. And there's two different types of general woks. There's the flat bottom wok, which is with a handle on the front of it, and that's traditionally for Chinese. And then there's a round bottom wok, and they're used interchangeably in Chinese culture. In Japanese culture, the flat bottom woks are almost never used. And the round bottom woks, you can pick one of those up from either Amazon or one of the other sites or even an import store near you. Just make sure that when you get the wok that you scrub it out with a real strong detergent solution, because at the factory where they make a lot of this stuff, they put a special machinist oil on there which is semi-toxic, and you want to clean that off before you start cooking with this thing. So let's go ahead and get started by putting in some peanut oil. I'm going to put in about a cup and a half. I'm going to put just enough in there to cover up 2 eggs. And I like extra eggs in there. If you don't like anything I put in my recipe, feel free to leave it out. It's not going to hurt anything. It shouldn't. I also use whole mustard seeds in here. And what this will do is, as the oil is heating up, it's going to add some flavor to what I'm cooking. And more importantly, it acts like a thermometer. Think of it as an organic temperature gauge, because when it gets ready to fry the eggs, it's going to start popping the seeds. You should be able to hear them pop. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Bring the heat up slowly, because if you throw it on there too fast, it will make some issues and some problems with it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. Let me grab the chicken over here. I've already got the chicken. I do my chicken ahead of time, and I put a Cajun spice on it. These were frozen chicken breast tenderloins that you can buy at a grocery store in the frozen section. And one of the things I do when I cook them is I microwave them, and I put some of this on there, slap ya mama. And this is a really good spice because it adds flavor, not just heat, but it adds flavor to the food. Some of the other spices that they have, for example, this one, this is good for meat dishes, because something like a roast or something like that, or a steak that you're going to put on a grill, because it has a real high salt content. It's like I don't know the percentages, but it's a real high percentage of salt in that one. And Slap Your Mama's not quite there, so that's a good thing actually. All right, some of the veggies I'm going to be chopping. I'm going to be putting in carrots with this. See if I can. I'm having to do this impromptu, so please bear with me a little bit if you don't mind. Set this in the sink here. While I'm chopping these veggies up, make sure my camera cable is plenty long enough. There we go. All right. And I'm using what's called an oblique cut on this. I'm not just chopping it straight. What I'm doing is I'm rolling it slightly and then cutting it. And the purpose behind this is several fold. It's got different purposes for this type of cooking. An oblique cut will ensure that when it's in the wok getting stirred around, they're not all going to be sticking side by side like a deck of cards and not get cooked and have a bunch of it raw and the outside is overcooked or whatever. So this will actually help prevent the stuff from sticking together, and it's got just enough thickness to it that it still has that psychological crunch when you bite into it. I can feel just a little bit of heat coming off of the stove over there. Like I said, I put a little bit of extra egg in mine. I like 2 eggs. I know some people have food allergies and that sort of thing. Always be extremely careful when you're cutting. Never cut towards yourself. Never cut towards another person. And always follow safe practices and safe kitchen guidelines when you're doing this. Because the knives are made for cutting food, not your hand. Hope you're having a good day. I hope everything's rolling well for you. I have some Georgia Vidalia onions. These are not just regular onions, they're Vidalia onions. So they have a unique and distinct flavor and taste to them. And they have a unique shape. They are really, really good flavorful onions to put in your dish. I'm going to do basic restaurant grade food prep a la sous chef. And I'm going to put the whole thing in there because I like onion. Onions are really wonderful because onions have, according to the research I've done, onions have somewhere close to 15 different substances in them that fight cancer cells. And not only that, it's a very powerful antibacterial agent inside of the human body as onions are going through the humans. I'm going to let these be into wedges a little bit so it'll give a little bit of crunch to it. Cut some of it in slices. Put a little variety, visual variety in the dish in addition to everything else. I'm just using a paring knife. This paring knife is probably just as old as I am. It's about 50 years old. I think my mom got this, well, it may be as old as I am. My mom got this before she passed away about the year that I was born. So this is a very old paring knife. And my point is, if you take care of your cooking equipment and cooking stuff, it will last you literally a lifetime. Alright, I'm going to slowly ramp up the heat over here and see if I can get some popping going on with the mustard seeds. And I've got my stirrer called a chan in here. When you're cooking with a wok, you want to roll the oil around and coat the sides real good so you don't get anything that sticks to it. A wok is a very powerful cooking tool. very powerful cooking tool. It can cook things, flash fry things at a very high temperature. Alright, we got that. We got soy sauce. Now I'm starting to get some popping over there, so I'm going to be cracking some eggs into that in a second. Because my rice cooker is about, I don't know, 10 years old, the non-stick has worn off of the bottom. So to compensate for that, I put the soy sauce in the rice, and what that does is it'll soak into it in the bottom and keep it from sticking too awful much. Alright, we got popping going on. So we're going to go ahead and crack a couple of eggs in there and scramble them up. Now the mustard seeds in there are going to bond with the egg, so when you bite into it, you're going to get like a mustard egg going on. Chop that up. This also, putting the eggs in there also drops the temperature dramatically for this as well. Alright, that looks good. We're going to go ahead and throw the veggies in there. Some people are real picky about what kind or what sequence they put them in. For myself, it's not a big deal, so I just dump all that in there. I got some celery. I found some organic celery at the grocery store, and it was probably about an extra 75 cents, but it looked to be very healthy. It had almost all of it had a real good color to it. So when you're going shopping, use your eyes. When you're going shopping for veggies and that sort of thing, let your eyes be your guide. The fruits and veggies that have a real high visual impact are usually the better ones to get. As you can see, I've got the peppers are in there. They have cooked and mellowed and they still retain some potency to them. Don't kid yourself. Let's see, I think there's some peppercorns. There's one of the peppercorns right there that I left whole and cooked into it. And the reason for that is, since I've been cooking for a while now, one of the things about peppercorns is the dynamic of actually how they affect what you're cooking with and the state that they're in. The state that the peppercorn is in determines a lot. If I were to just say open up a tin of black pepper and just dump some in there in the rice, it's going to make it stale before the rice finishes cooking. It's going to kill the flavor and give it a stale, flat taste similar to that of cardboard. But when you put a whole peppercorn into something like water and whatever and cook it slowly until it's done and it finishes, then what that will do is slowly release everything that's in the pepper at one time. Well, you can't release everything slowly at one time, but in other words, it releases, I didn't mean to say it the whole time, it releases from a whole peppercorn. Over time, it releases a flavor that is something that is profound, and it's mellow, and it's even, and it has a freshness to it. It doesn't have a flat, stale taste. So that when you bite into this, and you bite into a peppercorn that you've cooked, and like I said, this rice will take an extra 8 minutes over your standard long grain. So that's important, because if you pour some peppercorns in your hand and throw it in on top of some plain old white rice and cook it, you're going to be crunching down on rocks, because it takes a long time for that stuff to release, but it's well worth it, because when you bite into it, you get an accentuation of the pepper, and you get the entire flavor and body of the pepper instead of just something that's peppery or in some cases hot, because peppers are classified in herbs as an aromatic, so they're an aromatic thing. Whole peppercorns, I also use whole peppercorns when I make my own homemade stock. One of the things alternatively you can do with this is when you're cooking this and you go to use the measuring cup to put the rice in and the measuring cup to put the water in, instead of water you can substitute a cup of chicken broth in there, and oh, it makes it that much better. It's a really good thing. I make homemade chicken stock usually once a year, and I make about 4 or 5 gallons of it. And I keep a lot of it in the freezer and use it over the course of a year. Some of it I boil it out twice. The first time I boil it, it makes dark stock, which has a stronger, pungent flavor, a darker color, and it has a more pronounced effect on your taste buds. It tastes really more stout, more or less, or in a manner of speaking, you could say. Oh, that's starting to cook up good. Oh, that looks great. I like that. That looks good. And as you're cooking the chicken stock and boiling the chicken up and the bones and everything else in there, the second one I run through usually is light stock. It has less grease in it, called schmaltz. It's got less chicken fat in it, and it has less of a darkness color to it. It's not dark at all, and it's light, and it has a light fragrance to it. But I usually put carrots, celery, onions, small, like half an onion. I don't put a whole onion in there, and then I'll put in a tablespoon of whole peppercorns in there, and that's important. Now you can use what's called a paquet if you want to. You can get some cheesecloth, food grade cheesecloth, and things like that, and you can make a small packet pouch and use some food twine and tie it shut. That way all your peppercorns will stay in the packet and none of it will get out into the broth itself. That's also another trick you can do for bay leaves and things like that. Like if you have a bunch of different items that you want to flavor the dish with, but you don't want to get loose in there the finished product, you can make a small paquet, or I think that's French for pouch. Alright, the onions, usually when they start to just turn semi-clear, that's usually an indication the onions are done. When they start to turn, they lose their whiteness and they start to turn translucent, or just about before they turn see-through, that's when, for me anyway, they're done. You know, like I said, if you don't like onions, you don't have to put them in. If you don't like carrots, you know. Alright, we're going to take the chicken breast tenderloins that have been seasoned with the Slap Ya Mama. And I know that looks like a lot of spice, and it looks like, visually, it looks like, oh God, that's going to burn my face off. No. This is, like I said, mostly flavor instead of something that's just outright spicy. Now I cook these in a microwave for about 8 minutes on high, and I've got about a 900-watt microwave. And then I'll take the chan and just chop it up, and it should be cooked all the way through already, and that'll save you on your cooking time as well. You get home from work and you're tired, you've had a long day on your job, and you get in, you don't want to spend another 2.5 hours cooking dinner or an hour and a half cooking dinner. You want something, most, like in my case, a single guy wants to get something to eat, wants to hit the hay and make ready for the next day's business. And this is one of the ways that you can do this. Also, if you're a single guy and you're trying to save money and live on a budget and have budget meals, you can take this and put it in small little containers and pop it in the freezer, and there's your lunch for the next week right there. Next few days you've got lunch, it's already made, it's frozen, It's ready to go to work with you. And the reason I say freeze it is you've got egg in, or I've got egg in here anyway, and the egg is considered a critical item by the health department. So that can have, if it's not done right, that can have botulism and other types of bad things in it. So germs. So you want to salmonella, that sort of thing. So you want to watch for that, and you want to make sure that you keep this stuff at a cool temperature when you're not eating it. You want to keep it below 40 degrees. I'm going to step over here and grab a container, and what I'm not going to eat is going to be put into the container over here, so that way I can cool this off. Now I've got as you can see, this is Betty Crocker. This I picked this up at the Everything is a Dollar store, and for $1, and it looks like a lasagna type thing. And the reason for that I use that with my cooking is that it allows the food to cool off a whole lot faster. So when I'm ready to finish this and I get through eating and I want to go ahead and stick the leftovers in the fridge, if I'm not going to portion it up and packet it up and put it away, I can go ahead and cool it off and get it down below 40 rather quickly. That will shorten the window of time that germs, salmonella, whatever, would have to grow, and it makes your food safer. You can also stick it in the freezer when you need to. I know this may look kind of weird with two different cameras on here. You have to bear with me. The one camera, God, that thing was a nightmare. The one over the top of the wok is a Microsoft Life Cam, and it has a metal folding tab on it. And apparently that thing is made out of a real high quality steel, because it took me almost 20 minutes to drill through it so I could mount the thing in the kitchen before the show. And it ruined my drill bit. My 7/64 drill bit is ruined. And I was thinking to myself, well, that's rather strange. I wish Microsoft would put that kind of effort into the camera software and the camera circuit boards and chips instead of the metal that holds it on your monitor. I'll look at some things over here. Look at chat real quick. Everything is looking good in the neighborhood. Don't have a lot of people over here doing this. Don't have a lot of people chatting. That's actually good. Get that nice and hot. Speaking of chatting, I was over in a friend's channel a second ago, and I had a reflex action as a moderator of their channel. I had a reflex action where I accidentally, somebody said I needed a shout out, and I was just like, I wasn't even thinking, and I was just like, bleh, and I spit it out. And their mod flopped it and deleted it, and I was like, okay, that's fine. So I went into my channel and got the mod's name and banned them from my channel. And I make no apologies about that. Overzealous mods are a pain. So I appreciate diligence. I appreciate people taking time to have attention to things. But when people are just flat out overzealous, I'm not going to make any apologies about it. I just hope they're not stupid enough to come into my channel. People that you support, that you take care of, that you help out, that you watch people, you sit in their chat, you spend the hours of your life which are non-refundable, and you support them, you care about them, you encourage them not to give up, and then they treat you like a wandering troll that just blundered into their chat room. Find another person to support. Don't waste your time on somebody like that. Support people that are honest and that are sensitive and loyal. They know how to respond, reciprocate, and give back loyalty for kind deeds done. Be positive, folks. Don't waste your time on negativity. All right. Oh, that smells so good. Now, since I've got a lot of soy sauce over here already on this, I'm going to put just a little bit more soy sauce on here, which I watched a video on Netflix. It's called Salt, Acid, Fat, and Heat. It is the four things that unite all cuisines, regardless of what country they're from. Those four factors are what influences the taste and the perception and how we like a meal or not. Those things have the most impact on the way that food tastes. Salt, acid, fat, and heat. And I highly recommend that show to watch. I cannot underscore that. Number one, I don't hand out awards and accolades that much for cooking shows at all. Number two, that show is not only well thought out, it applies across the board. It is for beginners and experts alike. The lady that does the show and wrote the show graduated from a very good, excellent rated cooking school that is considered literally world class, called Chez Panisse out in California. And they get the cream of the crop of the cooking world to come out there. And they charge about $130 a plate. They determine what's on the menu, and it's good. I've never been there, but that's about the one place out in California I'd ever go to eat. No offense or anything. God, no. No offense, no offense. But if I had a choice of places to go to eat a free lunch, Chez Panisse would certainly be one of them. Yeah, there you go. You're getting the blend in there. You're getting that. Like I said, if you ever want to add anything else to this that you like green bell peppers or things like that, or you can even put a splash of teriyaki sauce on there. It's up to you. This is nice. This is nice. You can see the peppers in there. You can see they're not too much. They're cooked already. The heat's already muted. You got nice large chunks of chunky chicken in there. You got the egg is already cooked. You've got the rice. There's 3 different kinds of organic rices in there. Now, one of the reasons why I'm not picking up the wok and doing the shake thing where you shake it real quick is that I'm I'm renting this place and this is not my stove. I don't want to damage it. It's a glass top stove and I didn't want to wreck the thing or put a big gouge or scratch in it by doing something like that. All right, now I'm going to get myself a bowl. And eat some of this. That's okay. Peanut oil doesn't burn, but the food will turn to carbon, but that's all right. If you get a little bit of carbon in there, that's okay, because it save you from going to the health food store and buying those charcoal tablets. All right, there we go. Go ahead and kill the heat. Got one right there, finished product. Take my plastic chopsticks that I've had ever since I was 18 years old. Put them in there. Make sure this is nice and hot and sterile. And I'm going to put this in the pan so it can cool off rather quickly. I've got a lot of experience and background in restaurants and restaurant work. Ever since I was 18, I worked in a lot of different restaurants. One of the things I've learned about reading over 200 health inspector reports, and I've also owned my own business, cleaning business, where I would go in and help people pass a health food inspection or inspection that had failed, is that bacteria grows the fastest between 40 and 140 degrees. So if you can get whatever it is you're eating past the 140 degrees, the better. If you can take it to 180 or 190 degrees, you've killed about 92% of anything harmful in there. And that will include some of the things that, like listeria. You're familiar with some of the tragic meat recalls from factories and so forth, where people buy stuff from a grocery store. It says it's pre-cooked and it's got listeria bacteria, and people, because that happened to my nephew. My nephew almost died. I'm not going to say the brand name of the product, but my nephew almost died from one of the recent meat recalls in the last 10 years, and it was listeria. And one of the things that he did not do, that he was negligent on, was that he did not sufficiently heat the food up. I myself will do another cooking show on my special philosophy and methodology of microwaving hamburgers and other types of food to where it's 1,000% food safe. All right, and this is ready to go ahead and seal, and if I want to bring that down really fast, I could pop that in the fridge for about 20 minutes, and that'll take the temperature down and keep it food safe. And there you go, Catfish Sushi's chicken fried rice with the Slap Ya Mama spices in it. If you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to send a message, and I will be glad to respond. For now, it's late. I'm pretty tired, and I just got through cooking, so I love all of y'all. I am very glad that you took the time to come by and hang out and spend time with me, because time is the one thing that no human can ever get a refund on. And time is very important and precious. Spend it with people you love and that love you back. Avoid negativity and be positive, and be excellent, and be excellent in your love to other people. Recognize and appreciate people that support you. Acknowledge those that support you, and you'll always have more friends. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you stopping by. I will look forward to seeing you later. I'm fixing to chow down on this. Y'all be good. I'll talk to you soon.